Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're in the fantasy trip, The Labyrinth by Steve Jackson Games. This is the continuation of the IQ Talents part of the video series I was doing. We are on IQ 11 and 12 today. And that'll leave one more video to cover IQ 13 and 14. So let's start reading what talents are under IQ 11. Architect/builder is a 1-point IQ talent, but you must have an IQ of 11. Ability to design and build buildings, castles, labyrinths. Ability to direct a mining operation in a siege. Ability to read plans and maps and spot weak points. If a character has this talent, the GM should give him a few extra hints when the players are presented with mysterious labyrinth or building maps. An architect also rolls 1 fewer die to see a hidden trap, door, or similar item, unless he already has the alertness or detect traps. Next is courtly graces. It'll cost you 1 IQ point. This is the ability to pick up on court manners and protocol, and to behave in an upper-class fashion when necessary. A figure with this talent gets +1 on all reaction rolls involving nobility or similar figures. She also gets +1 on reaction rolls where very low-class figures are involved. He overawes them. If the character uses his upper-class manner in an unwise, inappropriate, or obnoxious manner, though, the GM should give him a -2. For instance, if the character attempts to bully a chance-met group of apparent wanderers, and one of them is an elven prince in disguise, the prince will probably take grave offense. Next talent is Detect Lies. It'll cost 2 points. Ability to tell when a humanoid type is lying by watching his eyes, breathing, etc. A figure with this talent may use it once after conversing with any character belonging to the game master or another player. The GM makes the roll. He rolls 5 dice against the lie detecting figure's IQ. If the liar is smarter than he is. 4 dice if they have the same IQ, and 3 dice if the liar is less smart than the figure detecting the lie. If the roll succeeds, the GM tells whether the figure lied. If the roll fails, the GM may choose to lie about whether the figure lied. GMs, you can give this ability to priests and powerful leaders that you create, and make it harder for the player characters to lie to them about their goals. Expert Horsemanship. This will cost you 2 points. The prerequisite is you have to have the horsemanship talent first, so you'll have to pay that cost first and then this one. An expert horseman can break wild horses and other riding animals of any type with which he is familiar, and can ride an already trained animal even if it's of a new type. He suffers no dex penalties for using weapons while riding, as long as he has the appropriate talent for the weapon he is using. An expert horseman can train riding animals as though he were an animal trainer, and doctor them as though he were a vet. Fencer. This is a 3-point talent. It's the equivalent of weapon expertise, which we'll get to later on in this. Specifically for the fencing weapons, rapier, saber, and main gaunch. Your basic dex must be at least 12 to take this talent, and your armor may not reduce your adjusted dex below 12 when you use this ability. Bonus to damage. A fencer does +1 damage with any fencing weapon, including the main gaunch, but not main gaunch in hand-to-hand combat. So that's written a little weird. Bonus to defend. All melee attacks against a fencer who has weapons in hand are at a -1 dex. If a fencer chooses the defend option, attackers must roll an extra die when making attacks. So they're rolling under their dice with 3 dice normally to hit you. If you choose the defense option, so you're not attacking that turn, but you're defending, those attackers would have to roll 4 dice under their dex. 2 weapons. The fencer has 2 weapon talent as defined in this section for fencing weapons only. Shrewd Thrust. A fencer may attack at a -4 dex and do an extra die of damage. The prerequisite for this talent is sword talent and dex of 12 or higher. Goldsmith will cost 2 IQ points. Ability to work with gold, silver, jewels, etc. But this talent and armorer are needed for the manufacture of silver weapons, armor, etc. Prerequisites for the goldsmith talent is recognized value. Locksmith costs 1 point. Ability to open locks. Requires specialized tools which have no significant weight. To pick an ordinary lock, roll 3 dice versus dex. You may try once per minute until you succeed. This skill is of less use against magically locked doors, and some locks require more than 3 dice to pick. The Thieves Guild teaches this talent, see the Thieves Guild, but they are legitimate locksmiths too, taught by the Mechanicans. The GM may let non-locksmith characters try to pick very simple locks at a penalty of 1 or more dice. Master Pickpocket talent costs 1 point. Prerequisite, you have to have the pickpocket talent and a dex of 14 or better. You roll 1 fewer dice to pick any pocket. This talent must be learned from the Thieves Guild. The Mechanican talent costs 2 points. A builder of mechanical gadgets. This ability includes that to remove traps. If you learn it, you get the ability to remove traps without recourse to the Thieves Guild and without the detect traps prerequisite. If you do already have remove traps, this ability has a difficulty of only 1 or costs half the XP. So it only costs 1 IQ point if you have remove traps. Then take this talent. This talent also gives you the ability of an armorer with respects only to crossbows and siege engines. Note, only can a Mechanican remove traps. He can build them if the materials are at hand. It takes time though. Twice as many hours as the total number of dice needed to see the trap, to dodge it when it goes off, and to remove it. Example, a trap, the type is not important, is so well hidden that it takes 4 dice versus IQ to see it, so quick that its saving roll to dodge it is 5 dice, and so cunningly installed that it takes 6 dice to roll versus dex. To remove it safely, it would take a Mechanican 30 hours of work to build that trap. See traps. A Mechanican can also work with and try to figure out strange technological devices. See artifacts. Physiker costs 2 points. It's a healer's ability. A Physiker can heal up to 2 new points of damage on any humanoid figure, wounds only, not exhaustion, within an hour after any combat or accident. He must have a Physiker's kit to do so. Efforts of more than one Physiker on the same wounded figure are not cumulative. Example, a figure takes 5 damage. No matter how many Physicers there are in the group, he can only be cured 2 points. However, if he later suffers a different mishap, he can be cured 2 points of the new hit points lost by any Physiker. It takes 5 minutes to heal 2 points. Shipbuilder costs 2. Ability, given time and materials to construct any type of water-going vessel. The prerequisite is seamanship. Tactics costs 1. The ability to guess what the enemy will do, requiring a 5-die roll versus IQ. The GM makes the roll. If the roll is successful, the GM tells the player truthfully what he, the game master himself, plans to have the enemies do in the immediate situation. If the leader of the party has this ability, the party gets a +1 on initiative rolls. 2 weapons cost 2 points. This is the knowledge of the Florentine style of fighting, or in the Orient, the Nito style of Katori Ryu of Izasa. In other words, the ability to use 2 swords, or if you want to be unconventional, any 2 one-handed weapons at the same time. Any character can fight with 2 weapons at once. if one of the weapons is a dagger, main gaunch, or spiked shield, or if some combination like net and trident or two cesti is being used. However, a character who wants to fight with two swords, sword and mace, or other combination must have this talent. This talent permits a character fighting with two weapons on any turn he attacks to do any one of the following. A. Attack with both weapons at normal dex for the first attack and -4 dex for the second one. The attacks may be against the same or different figures. B. Make a normal attack with one weapon and a parry with the other. The second weapon acts as a shield to stop 2 points of damage from each non-missile attack from a front hex. C. Parry with both weapons, adding an extra die to attempts to hit you and stopping 4 points of damage from any successful attack, but not threatening the enemy. If you are a fencer, you automatically have this talent. If you must use either two rapiers or a rapier and main gaunch as your two weapons, since these are the two weapon techniques taught to fencers. If you are not using the fencer talent and its bonuses, you may fight with any two weapons that you have the strength to use. Prerequisite is a dex of 11, and you must have the talents for any weapons you use this way. Unarmed Combat 2. It'll cost 1 point, and its prerequisite is Unarmed Combat 1 and a dex 11 or more. Your punch does +2 damage with bare hands in either hand-to-hand fighting or regular combat. Your kick in regular combat, the roll to hit is at a -2 dex, but you do a +3 damage compared to the bare hands attack. Throw, you may shield rush without a shield, use the shield rush rules, but if your target falls, you may immediately move on top of them to attempt a hand-to-hand. Evade, hand weapons attacks from your front hexes are at a -1, and damage done to you is reduced by 1 per attack. So when you evade, the attacks from hand weapons, anything held in hands, is at a -1 dex on your enemies and a -1 hit to the damage they do to you. Okay, so now we're on the vet talent. It'll cost 2 points. Just like the physical talent, as far as how it heals and how many hit points it can affect and how long afterwards, but for use on animals. To know this talent, you must have the animal handler ability already. So that's its prerequisite. Note, if you already have the physical ability as well, you can get the vet ability by spending only 1 IQ point or half the XP, since you already have medical knowledge. Same as in reverse. If you have the vet ability, the physical ability costs you only 1 IQ point. Weapon expertise. This will cost 3 IQ points. Expertise is a separate talent for each weapon talent. For instance, an expert swordsman gets no bonus with axes or maces. Expertise applies only to hand weapons, but see the missile weapon skill. Expertise with the dagger is a separate expertise talent from the expertise with a sword. Expertise with the sword also does not include fencing weapons, which have their own expertise. Bonus to damage. An expert does +1 damage with weapons of the type include thrown attacks if the weapon is throwable. Bonus to defend. All melee attacks against an expert who has the weapon in hand are at a -1 dex. If an expert chooses to defend option, attackers must roll an extra die to get under their dex when attacking. Shrewd blow. An expert may attack at -5 dex and do an extra die of damage. Prerequisite, the appropriate weapon talent and a dex of 12 or more. Woodsman. Cost 1. Prerequisite is the naturalist talent. A woodsman is knowledgeable at living off the land. Expert in survival, he can build a camp, make a fire in the rain, find edible plants, etc. If a party without a woodsman is traveling through the wilderness without rations and or camping gear, each member must make a 3-die roll daily against IQ, or take 1 hit of damage from exposure, 1 hit point loss, lost sleep, bad food, etc. Damage is double in swamps or rain, triple in deserts or extreme cold. This hit point loss in this way may not be recovered until the party reaches a comfortable place to rest. Note, some places, like caverns, may have no food of any kind to be found. A party in the wilderness travels at half normal speed unless half or more of the characters are woodsmen. Normally, the knowledge of the woodsman works automatically to protect the party. In very difficult situations, the GM may require a 3 versus IQ or harder roll from the woodsman character to see if they actually know what to do. The next talent is writing. Costs 1 point. It's the ability to write in a clear and concise manner, useful for scholars, explorers, journalists, military officers to write the orders, and game designers. Combined with Bard, would let the writer write entertaining and readable fiction. Note, not the same as poetry, but one who has both talents will be better writer and a better poet. Prerequisite is literacy. Now we are on to IQ 12 talents. Assess value. Costs 1 point. Let you look at any object and determine its value. You cannot determine the value of the magic in an item unless you already know what the magic is, i.e., this is not an analyze magic talent, but a knowledge of market value. Prerequisite to this talent is recognize value. Captain, costs 2 points. Prerequisite is seamanship, and 2 years at sea. The ability to command a large vessel on an extended voyage. A captain in command of your party gives you a +1 on initiative rolls. If the combat involves boats, he has a +2 on seamanship rolls. Expert naturalist, costs 2 points. An expert naturalist gets a 2-die saving roll to see ambushes by slimes and etc. before they occur, or by a 3-die saving roll if he is running or fighting. He is capable of recognizing all races of intelligent creatures and all types of monsters and beasts in this book, and he knows all important information about them. He can make a good guess, 3 versus IQ, as the general nature of new beings the GM has introduced. An expert naturalist can also find food in the wilderness like a woodsman. The prerequisite is naturalist. Master armorer. A high degree of smithcraft. The prerequisite is the armorer talent. A master armorer is the only one who can make fine weapons. If he is also a goldsmith, he can make fine weapons out of silver. A master armorer can, if he turns his hand to it, make or duplicate any type of weapon available to a medieval technology except a magic one, and is even familiar with those. A master armorer will always realize that a magic weapon is magic just by the feel of it, unless the spell is protected by a conceal spell. On a 4-die roll against IQ, they will recognize the weapon/armor enchantment spells, immunity to drop and break weapon, and the ability to flame. If they miss the roll, or if the spell is another type, they will still know the weapon is magic, but not what type. Fine weapons have bonus to dex or damage, so it increases your ability to hit or increases the amount of damage you do. And I think there's 2 levels to each of them. Like you could get up to a +2 dex and you can get up to a +2 damage. I could be wrong on the damage part. It might go to +3. But it would be like having a masterwork weapon in Pathfinder or D&D, where it gives you a bonus to the attack, but it's not the magical bonus that can be applied and added to. Master locksmith. The prerequisite is locksmith talent and a dex of 13 or better. The master locksmith talent costs 1 point. You roll 1 fewer die to pick any lock. This talent may be learned from the Thieves Guild or the Mechanic Hands. Stealth costs 2 points. This is the ability to move so inconspicuously that people will look right through you. This talent lets you open doors a crack and look, peek around corners without being seen, etc. On a roll of 3 dice against your dex. On a roll of 4 dice, you can escape pursuit, even close pursuit. by ducking into a room, branching tunnel, or wide spot if one is available. Other characters may try these things, but it takes a roll of a 5 or 7 dice, respectively, against decks. You must be wearing leather, cloth, or no armor. The prerequisite to the stealth talent is silent movement. Unarmed Combat 3 costs 2 points. You have to have the Unarmed Combat 2 to take this talent. Punch does +3 extra damage with bare hands in either hand-to-hand or regular combat. Kick in regular combat, roll to hit is at a -1 dex and do 1 extra dice of damage compared to your bare hands attack. Throw, you may shield rush without a shield. Use the shield rush rules, but the opponent's roll to defend is on 4 dice. If your target falls, they take 1 hit point of damage. Armor does not protect, and you may immediately move on top of them to attempt hand-to-hand. Evade, attacks from your front hex are at a -2 dex, and damage done to you is reduced by 2 hit points per attack. Prerequisite is Unarmed Combat 2, and dex of 12 or more. Ventriloquist costs 1 point. Ability to throw your voice, roll 3 dice versus your IQ, subtract 1 for every megahex from your character to the target. Failure means nobody is fooled. And that is all the IQ 12 talents. So that covers IQ 11 and IQ 12 talents. This was a little bit longer of a video. Hope you all enjoyed. Until we all game again, guys.